you must stay safe. Use a respirator for painting. When you handle any potentially hazardous material. While you might not have considered paint a hazardous material before, it can be. Breathing in fumes from different kinds of paint can be dangerous, especially for prolonged periods. With the proper respirator, you can keep yourself safe. But how do you know what kind of respirator is best to use? Let's get into the details. What are respirators, and do I really need one? Contrary to popular belief, respirators aren't just tools used to help people who can't breathe. There are two kinds of respirators. One that pumps air into a mask and particulate respirators, which filter harmful substances out of the air breathed by their wearer. Gas masks are a colloquial term for a kind of heavy-duty particulate respirator. Surgical masks are another kind. When painting, it's never a bad idea to wear a respirator mask. While some kinds of paint do not necessitate their use, they can still emit unpleasant odors or fumes that might make you feel dizzy or lightheaded. However, you should use a face respirator when working with acrylic or oil paint, as these emit fumes that could seriously damage your respiratory system. Masking is a must if you're doing any kind of spray painting. Fumes from spray paint can cause eye, throat, and nose irritation, while long-term damage can cause nervous system, liver, and kidney issues. Wearing a paint respirator mask will filter problematic substances out of the air you breathe. The National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health lists all its approved safety equipment. There are 7 types of NIOSH-approved particulate respirators out there for you to consider for your painting needs. Of these 7, only 3 are fit for use with paint, as 3 kinds, N95s, N99s, and N100s, are not resistant to oil particles, and one type, R95, is only somewhat resistant. If you want a mask that keeps you as safe as possible, you'll be looking for a P95, P99, or P100. What does the P stand for? Painting, of course. In actuality, NIOSH's lettering in its mask categorization refers to a mask's resistance to oil particles. N means a mask is not resistant, R means it's somewhat resistant, and P means proof, meaning the mask is effectively oil-proof. So, if you're spray painting with oil paint, respirators are a must. The same goes for if you're doing any kind of painting indoors. While oil and acrylic paints might not be technically poisonous, they are still very strong. Any strong smell can trigger headaches or nausea in people, so stay safe by wearing a respirator. A few things can play into what kind of respirator you want. As we mentioned before, the type of paint you're dealing with will play a significant role. If you're using any paint with an oil base, you'll want a respirator capable of filtering out oil particulates. This is just one example of a factor that can influence your respirator choice. Another factor that can play a significant role is what kind of environment you're painting in. If you're painting inside, then a respirator is an absolute must. Even with your air conditioning turned to full blast and all of your windows open, you will want to wear a respirator when in an enclosed space. This could be a bathroom, closet, or small room. Another factor to keep in mind is how long you will wear your respirator. If this is a one-day job, you probably won't need the most heavy-duty respirator available. However, if you're going to be making touch-ups for weeks, you might want to invest in a respirator that'll last you a long time. Some respirators are only meant to be worn for a day or two, while others can last much longer if properly cared for. If you decide to invest in a particulate respirator that will last you a while, you might wonder how to make it last. Many types of respirators aren't supposed to be worn for a long time. Think of the standard surgical masks popularized during the COVID-19 pandemic. Most surgical masks are only meant to be worn once. However, there are more robust respirators that you can utilize for some time. These include many types that cover half of your entire face. One of the essential parts of taking care of your respirator is making sure that you change out the filters. Certain kinds of respirators use filters that need to be changed every so often. Some filters need to be changed after around 24 to 48 hours of active use, while others can last as long as 6 months. If you're unsure how often you need to change filters, consult your owner's manual or contact the company from which you purchased the respirator. The most common sign that you need to change your respirator is when you notice it's getting harder to breathe. While this might sound like common sense, it occurs because the filters start clogging up with particulates. While it's usually safe to keep using the respirator for a bit longer when this happens, you should still change the filters immediately. Keeping yourself safe is essential when you start painting anything, and a respirator will help keep you healthy. Knowing the different kinds of respirators will inform you whether you even need one in the first place. However, if you're on the fence about whether or not to invest in a respirator, it's our advice to go ahead and get one. After all, if worse comes to worst, you just sacrifice a little bit of comfort for maximum health benefits. That's not such a terrible trade-off, is it? Well, that's it for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe so we can continue making more helpful content for you. Until next time.